These are the hill tracts that border the Indian subcontinent in the northeast, home to a number of tribes belonging to the Mongoloid race. In the days gone by, beyond the reach of verifiable history, it is believed that waves of migrant people came and settled in this sub-Himalayan region. There are various ethnic groups like the Garos, Mizos, Mikirs, Meithis, Kukis, Khasis and the Nagas. They are very different from the rest of the people of the subcontinent in their appearance, their lifestyles, customs, food and religion. Their traditions and ways of life bear close similarity to those of the peoples of Southeast Asia. The Nagas are one of the largest ethnic groups in the northeast with an estimated population of 3 million. They occupy a contiguous area in the 4 Indian states of Assam, Manipur, Arunachal Pradesh and Nagaland, as well as the northwestern part of Myanmar. This area has been termed as the Naga ancestral lands. The Nagas are a conglomeration of more than 30 tribes, each with its separate language. The Nagas make their villages on hilltops, surrounded by terraced farms. They engage in slash and burn or jhum cultivation. The Naga tribes were nature worshippers. Their religions closely mingled with their social and agricultural practices. They were warlike tribes with customs like head hunting. One important measure of the social status of a man was the number of heads hunted by him. The forests and the land of the village, except the terraced farms and the housing plots, were common property. The family, the clan, the village and the tribe were the units of social and political organization. The political systems among the Naga tribes varied from autocracy to consensus democracy. But the matters of the village were usually decided through a democratic process where the village elders had a crucial say. Women also play an important role in the decision-making process. Naga society continues to be deeply community-based. The whole village contributes to activities like farming, marriages, funerals and customary feasts. The Nagas have always been uninhibited in their choice of food. Hence, their food habits are quite unlike those of the people of the plains. Weaving is a traditional occupation. Each tribe has its own distinctive weaving patterns. In the 19th century and the first part of the 20th century, the Nagas gradually adopted Christianity, which was spread by Western missionaries. Today, 95% of them are Christians. The rest continue to follow animistic tribal religions. While Christianity put an end to practices like head hunting, it also destroyed the rich cultural patterns that had been woven into Naga life through generations. But many traditional rituals, ceremonies and festivals remain in Christianized forms as traces of a time when religion was not separate from the way of life of the community. Naga society has not remained isolated from changes brought about by the outside world. The market economy has replaced the indigenous economic system. At the same time, modern education has considerably westernized the Nagas, especially the younger generation. The Nagas remained largely self-sufficient till the British started encroaching on their territories in the 1830s. The East India Company had begun developing the land bordering the Naga territory in Assam for mining and tea plantation. The Nagas resisted this intrusion with dhows and spears. In 1879, a deputy commissioner of the Naga Hills and his 35 men were killed in Konoma village. This marked the high point of Naga resistance. It was suppressed and the British gained control over 1/3 of the traditional Naga territory. In 1929, the Simon Commission visited India to gauge public opinion on the Indian constitutional progress towards self-administration. While the Indian national leadership boycotted the commission, the Nagas presented a memorandum stating that they did not wish to have anything to do with the people of the plains and wanted to be left alone to develop their own political and constitutional systems.
British Malata ne kiti hukam hatoga ike shiti Naga club zaununu Nagama ko ne British Malata sa he independent
The British Cabinet Mission came to India in March 1946 to lay the basis for the transfer of power in consultation with Indian leaders. The Naga National Council submitted a memorandum insisting on the unification of all Naga tribes, local autonomy and a separate electorate. Nehru wrote a letter on August 1, 1946 to the Naga National Council stating that the Naga territory was much too small to stand by itself politically or economically and that it consisted of rather backward people who required considerable help. In 1947, Sir Akbar Haidari succeeded in concluding an agreement with the Naga National Council. The Nagas were to be under the guardianship of India for 10 years, after which their status could be reviewed. The internal administration was to be left with the Naga National Council, but this agreement was never executed. In 1949, disregarding the agreement with the Naga National Council, the Constitution of India declared that the Naga Hills district was a part of India.
The Assam Governor Akbar Haidari Heko Pisa to sign the Azal Hosa, Heko Zaterdo Dele, Heko Dukido Dele, Ikecha Pukipusha, Sosa Gandhi Pula Gacha, India Chapahi, Neko Dukido Gacha, to serve Kejimode, Potumode, Mu, Abudi, India Magu, Nagama Dukikacham Hosa, Upogunu, India Kobu Adukshatore. 1947 Eko Nagama independent the whole Nagamari Potaposho the whole Ikechu Pise Hiju Pesi Yun Ori Pesi Le Shu Pe Mo Telegraph Pe Mo Sosa Pin Jamari British India Pesiwa Ketchum Haitinu Pat Tikuchua Dego.
Under the leadership of A.Z. Fizo, the Nagas began to organize themselves politically and militarily.
And he said that white government is gone, the black government has come. Now he explained what is going to be. In fact, some of them can be said to be true. For instance, the land will be taxed. They say it be taxed. They saw it being taxed in Assam. This will come to you. They saw agricultural commission going and counting the cows and pigs. So he said, your cows and pigs will be counted and you will be taxed. Well, may be true. He said, you will not be allowed to eat beef. Well, this is what's happening in India today. Cows slaughter will be banned and you will not be allowed to eat pork because of the Muslims. All this the Naga villager had seen across the border. So they believed it. This is independence. Because the land belongs to the people in Naga. The land belongs to the village. And that is the sacred as far as they are concerned. And if they come to know that this will be taken away, then they will go with anybody.
In a plebiscite conducted by the NNC in 1951, 99% of the voters opted not to join the Indian Union. Nehru wrote to Fizzo that the government of India would never recognize their claim to independence. Fizzo and other leaders were arrested. Later, Fizzo was released and he went into exile in London, where he died in 1990. On 30th March 1953, Nehru came to Kohima with U Nu, the Burmese Prime Minister. The NNC's request to present a memorandum to Nehru was refused. The Nagas walked out of the public meeting angrily. Nehru could meet only the village chiefs and translators gathered there by the local administration. The Indian government sent armed police to capture the NNC leaders who went underground. In 1956, armed forces were sent into the Naga hills to subdue the Naga army which had established control over Kohima. Thus began the Battle of Kohima.
High school ego Mrs. Japan Mamu British Unakaya TV second hand goes also most leading the TNBC. The Puyaga Society in Gozega Yaga. Ego defense goes a calf Sebo Zibamana, go call Tedo TV Tower Chegaja Lud Genu go Rababuche Dictaria. Vivasoro Tada Tehibotuya, Rena Sahuna. Some got Talasun Badaya, which he was Nuza, take a Yavata is Yale. You can just hear Japo, Jacana, just says, Jadian TV Japa, take Chinhi, Igabo, CDT, say, Hekoranana, Basoja, the Hatches, Sizova, and Army Goritatim.
Nakamoga de Chatala, Kisha, put it off. Mu Uncoa. Yoduki Sora Gamise the Shiratala or Nagamate. There. What about there? They were about the Unco get a hetre. Was it a hetre or Uncora Hamasalado? Unagamor Salado. There 이거 까까르어데 딩 테뉴러 스디에 허제지 크야데
When the Indian army came to Naga Hills and to Enthang in 1956, they didn't have much reference. They didn't know these people. They could not recognize. There was no way of recognizing who was friendly and who was unfriendly. To them, all the people looked the same. At that time, the Naga army didn't have enough. They didn't wear uniform. They were all guerrillas. They are still guerrillas. So they were oppressive to everybody. Searches, arrests, even killings. They grouped villages and put them together under the watch of an army camp. They were living within barbed wire fence. They could not go out to do their cultivation. Their food stocks ran out. The theory of the very foolish planners was that the gorilla is like fish and the people are like water. If you take the water out, the fish would die. And in that hope, they started gathering people and putting them in what can be called concentration camps.
Before the center took over, it was in 57, took over Naga Hills and Vinsang, the army tried to copy what the British had done in Malaya with the Chinese insurgents. And villages were grouped. That is, they brought the villagers to live together and they were fed, they were given rations, everything, but not allowed to go to their field. That was grouping. It was terrible for a villager to stay idly there, even though he got his food properly, he was looked after, he was protected. But that was, as soon as center took over, that was given up. But it was done by the army in between the year 55 and 57.
你这么过，弟提把这门来把这来给过，我个朋友不做那个过来的，门来我弟把到了做那个做什么的，拉大是个执法的这机会，那个来给我，那个自己车的，他不里不山的阵子，把人那个给跳啊，我个把我那里不多的，差不多把米钱。一些个这地方那不来给我们还是怎么带个喂？我的那个地条的，我那个大摩罗说他的，他自己那是拉达米这里我不做呀no，米西里面人那no做那no，那个的自己不也不能吧？也是no是的，把里跟自己打了嘛给我的。In
1963, the government of India created the state of Nagaland by combining the Naga Hills and Tuensang. But this was only a third of the total Naga traditional lands. The rest of the Naga lands remained in Manipur, Assam and Arunachal Pradesh. The Naga territories in Manipur lie in Tamenglong, Senapati, Ukhrul and Chandel. The unification of these Naga lands has been a cherished goal of the Naga movement. The creation of the state of Nagaland thus failed to diffuse the struggle. In 1975, during the time of internal emergency under Indira Gandhi, an accord was signed at Shillong with an influential section of Fizo's followers. They called themselves the representatives of the underground organizations and accepted the Constitution of India. But AZ Fizo remained silent on the accord. General Thinoseli, former chief of the Naga army, says,
"It was made secretly, and the architect of Shillong Accord was Mr. Yane. He came over town saying that he was a contact man, and the Indians took advantage of him, taken him to peace camp, sent him with his barbed wire, guarded by the Indian soldiers. From there he made this draft and secretly sent to Mr. Zashi Hure. When Shillong Accord was known only by Zashi and those on the signatories. What the people do not know.
The signatories of the Shillong Accord organized the surrender of arms by a section of the Naga underground. Several of the guerrillas who had surrendered were absorbed into the Indian military establishment. The rest were settled in peace camps guarded by the Indian army, like this one at Kohima. The accord also said that the signatories could formulate other issues which could be discussed for a final settlement. More than 25 years have passed. Waiting still continues in the peace camps.
What is Shillong Accord? Shillong Accord is just what is precisely this: divide the leadership. You should never try to divide the leadership. I, for one, think that it was a mistake not to have negotiated when Mr. Fizo was there. You are more keen to see that weaken Mr. Fizo, let other groups come up. It's a rotten strategy. It's a myopic view. I, for one, would strengthen the established leaders so that if you come to an understanding with them, that they can sell the accord.
A section of the Naga National Council, which was unsatisfied with the Shillong Accord, formed the National Socialist Council of Nagaland in 1980 under the leadership of Isaac Chishi Swu, Tunglang Muiwa and SS Kaplang. The armed struggle with the Indian forces continued under the NSCN, which constituted a parallel government of the People's Republic of Nagaland. In 1988, the NSCN split into two. The faction under Isaac and Muiwa became the NSCN-IM, and the group under the leadership of SS Kaplang became the NSCN-K. NSCN-IM has emerged as the more powerful and politically representative Naga group. The lives of the ordinary Nagas of the past 3 generations have been spent under the overbearing gaze of the Indian armed forces. Almost every village has a group of hostile armed personnel stationed at its gate or at some strategic point. Draconian laws like the Armed Forces Special Powers Act confer the authority to kill, search and detain with total impunity. Civilian rule has been undermined by the overwhelming presence of the armed forces in these areas. This has also resulted in grave violations of the basic rights of the people. March 10, 1982. The soldiers of the 21st Sikh Regiment came to the village. They had a list of Nagas whom they suspected. Paul and Daniel were taken to the nearby army camp. No one has seen them since. In 1984, the Supreme Court of India awarded a compensation of rupees 1 lakh each to the wives of Paul and Daniel. Disappearances like these are not infrequent for the Nagas, but such verdicts are. The NSCN IM guerrillas raided an Assam Rifles camp near Oinam on the 9th of July 1987. 9 soldiers were killed. 150 weapons and 125,000 rounds of ammunition were taken away by the guerrillas. The Nagas of Oinam and nearby villages were made to pay the price. For 2 weeks, the people were grouped together in the local playground from early morning to late night and tortured by the army in the name of interrogation. "15 people were killed. Around 300 women were tortured badly. 4 of them were raped. 12 children died of starvation and denial of medical care." A case was filed by the Naga People's Movement for Human Rights on behalf of the affected people of Oinam. The Guwahati High Court completed recording evidence which ran to over 10,000 pages, and the final hearing was completed in 1991. 12 years have passed and the court has still not given any verdict. Yange Maso was one among the people taken away by the army from Ukrul, but he was not among those released the next day.
아래 이발 분다 차를 공 돌 엉진 분다 그거 다리 먹고 동원지 집 점리 분가 롱그라운드 jadi service kui ke kadam tharan awi ngun asa hung kum daran tong ke tang ke chup biar sa tourist aji soji thiai de ke china oji thorong isi pha da bu de sai ka isha bu tu ya ka dara sa dan na thum pha da awore wa in mi sa ta wo sa chi.
In this case too, the court finally decided that the army was the culprit and ordered the government to pay a compensation of rupees 2 lakhs to Mrs. Aso. December 27th, 1994. A fight between the NSCN-K guerrillas and the Maratha light infantry took place in Mokokchung town. One colonel was killed by the guerrillas. The Maratha light infantry took its vengeance on the people of the town.
9 were shot down. 4 innocent persons were roasted alive. 59 buildings were cut down and 89 shops were burned down. 17 vehicles burned down and 7 two-wheelers.
Alanya lebaje salarang pakajirang unongasapi yemeli. Timdamadia atu army tu lokat. Nanuan lapang cha kemayunga anyaloya. Tasu unongasapi yemeli. Unongasapi sushi army jage yeshigangche asebu kajikara. No, successfully. And I told out of long nights of the Yasu, so she didn't see us, just she comes and you want. It's a long day, Kakanda near your Kakanda near Yapan, she comes here, Kingdom of Size, as a Kimaji. So, what you year of young. Marathon to pull up there. I'm not a doctor. I'm a doctor. I don't want to stay to pull up the down mother. Change the repair. That's a woman. Some of the other as you know, at the party. Tell her at the I read on some of the letters. Down my Sunday. Tell her some other. A third mother knew me in your body. One at the server. That's a good light wire at the room. That's all. But I'm thinking that Maka, Yamia, and wrote the data to the woman. And you are say, all of that one of the events has a problem, they from nuclear as a one of in the brand of the men and Bangade, the men and Bano, the number all of the brand, all of the Akaba, as soon as a fire brand, and that needs something lucky as it says the Poga. As a tanger, to look to Mamma the Palidan, Ki the Malan, Ki Shibanga Liva, Labukanga, Labukumaludam. Mirror Nunde, on the common Batimanunde. Asama Janova, Tetsanga, Chimsaba, Mogo, another letter. I don't see Miasa. Yeah. If I could come in and look at the lane, no matter what. Since I would to me.
Tamenglong is a district in Manipur heavily occupied by the Indian Army. newspapers had reported an allegation that in Khonsang village, the 15th Jat Regiment screened pornographic films in a church which is adjacent to their camp, and the soldiers sexually exploited women. Citing security reasons, a group of extremely vigilant and well-equipped army personnel ensured that no shots showing the proximity of the church and the camp were shown to the outside world. With this level of military vigilance, civil administration has become superfluous in these districts. Moses Chale, IAS, Deputy Commissioner and Head of the Civil Administration of the district, speaks about the incident in Khonsang village.
When we inquired, maybe for their own reasons, no one is really coming forth too openly about it. I've made some discreet inquiry also. Apparently from movie screening has taken place. We do not know what kind of movie it was.
The screening has taken place.
Seems to have. But as and when we hear this report, such report, we also do take necessary action. Without sometimes going into too details of what is, but we do sort it out. When this report came, I think I've done the needful.
You have done the needful.
And everyone is more aware.
Yeah.
But again, all
like what would you do?
For instance, about this report, I came to know from newspaper.
Yeah.
Told me about it. I never knew about it.
Yeah.
They normally know, like we went about it, said, okay, what is this?
Did you get in touch with the army authorities?
We do keep in touch with them.
And did you specifically ask them about this report, which was published in papers?
We do get in touch with them.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm asking this question because actually, I mean, they are supposed to be functioning in aid of the civil authority.
We do get in touch with them, and not only this, many other things we sort it out. We do sort out.
They carry all the sick people, the doctors, and they get the medicines. And one day, I also went along with my son to get the medicine. And there, they told us to get in and take the medicine, so we get in. And he told us to sit down, so we sit down, and we talked something else. And after some time, I don't know, he told me from there, and unfortunately that happened. So, I don't know what to do now. Everything got spoiled like this.
Who was the person? Do you know his name?
Yeah, I know his name. His name is Ganga. Ganga. His name is Ganga. No use of living here in this world.
Some by the by shown of the tray, shown like a tray from the better. Effective to my Tatic on Jonathan. Going right in conjunction. We don't look at more than 10 or very make it back high. Well, I'll tell the rain, of the we are high the image was at there. The hungry at the food at the last dinner.
Naimu is a village in Ukhrul district. On 24th January 1986, Luingamla, the 19-year-old daughter of Muinao, was assaulted by two Indian Army officers, Captain Mandir Singh and Lieutenant Sanjit Dubey, at her house. She was shot dead when she resisted their attempts to rape her. Her father vividly remembers that day.
다글링은 라인의 트라운 이슈 가이서 보지. 아니를 건데 제수야. 아징정질이 미가 투자들 이슈들 가 항전이 다 용성 가는데야. 그런 지 호라려가. 그럼 그 감옥에 소이자. 저는 어디 소이자. 그리고 야실이 팔 못해도 제일 아니 백동질이 좀 제지 다좀 kum사명을 사는 아루티죠. 오피스를 내자는데 야. 그럼 그래가 인라인질이 땅고 나가가 동안은 계속 저때 사이를 아우스 군노 예예 그때고 있으면은 메모리 스톤을 끔 사도 수나이가 이 पै사지 그 사람 아루이 그 컨벤션 끝에서 방식이 이널 질 뭐 보험래 그 컨벤션을 물레죠 이널 계속 요 생세를 가려 이 기글 우파임 내저 김사를 들으시 그 길을 지금 선방도
但你那是跑我们是，但你是，还是，那跑没咱们那是，还是，那买土咱们那是，还是，跑我但你那是，个棒你那是，通常棒你那是，买土咱，还你是，我是，还你是，还你是，就买土咱，还是。
Two soldiers were killed when unidentified gunmen attacked a patrolling party of the 15th Jat Regiment on 27th December 2000. In retaliation, the army came down to this small village 4 kilometers away and killed 6 Nagas and 2 Manipuri vegetable vendors. 6 months later, the people of the village have come together to build the graves of the dead men.
ใครเรามาก็มากันนี่เท่ก็พี่ได้เท่ก็มันกันนี่แต่เก่าก็ด้วยวันเช้าถึงมันสวยเท่กันนี่เราไทยใจไทยก็สินะไทยกันเท่ก็มาง่ายมาแค่ดาวง่ายไม่ลงเขาไม่มีดูยินแท้มาแค่เช้ามันง่ายมาแค่ก็มาเรียนมาแค่อันนี้ที่ให้อันนี้เช้าเนี่ยแต่อันนี้ที่ปานมูเท่อินเดียมีที่ปานอันนี้ที่แข็งเท่เขาบังคับนะเขาใกล้เขามาติดชนเราเท่นี่เท่ก็มาสวยเราเท่นี่ง่ายมาแค่นี่เช้าเนี่ยเดี๋ยวมันติดเช้าหมูเท่อันนี้ก็เรานี่เขาก็เราง่ายมาแค่อันนี้แต่อันนี้ก็ร่วมทำกันเขากันนี่เลยนะหานะเขาบังว่าเขาอันนี้ที่ให้ระกายเขาแข็งแล้วน้องมันน้ำมีที่ตู้มังเนี่ยมันเด่นขึ้นมาอันนี้แต่นี่ล้าวกว่าจะน้ำที่ตู้มังติดบังจริงเราเท่เข้ามากันนี่แต่นี่กันนี่เรานี่แต่นี่สลวยแล้วคนไหนก็มันสลวยแล้วมีแต่ในมันเด่นขึ้นมากันนี่เราไทยบลัดซี่เนี่ยเขามาไทยเราจะเท่เข้ามากันนี่ตรงหูที่นี่กันนี่แต่นี่ขึ้นไปเราหนักมาเท่นุ่งไงมาแค่นี่ไทยนุ่งไงมาแค่ก็อินเดียไม่ได้นี่จังคาแล้วฟังนี่จังคุยเนี่ยมีแต่ขนาดนุ่งข้างตู้ข้างสั่งข้างกันอยู่เลยนะเพี้ยแล้วบ้านแม่กระปูเลยถ้าเล่าจ้าเลยนะคันนี้แพมเลยนะกระด้างเลยนะพุ่งกับเพี้ยบ้านมีแต่สลวยก็มีให้เต่างานนั้นนี่ดูคุยมาแค่นุ่งไงมาแค่เปี้ยนมาแค่มีตัวตาเรานี่เจ้ากันมากันนี่อันนี้คนดีของตาหูกันไทยลงอยู่ไทยก็ไม่ได้กี่ขนาดนั้นตรงสุกทุเด่นจะมีแต่ที่เล่าประตูร้านนี้นะไทยไอ้ทาเล่าไปตัวไทยดังมาใครแต่มันไม่ลงนี่ค่ะแต่งบ้างแค่อันเดียวทุกตะกี้บุญนี่อันเดียวแต่ปานเบนำทุกสำคัญนะสิ่งเดียวทุกอุปายเนี่ยใครพวกไปแจงเลยปานนี้ไปด้านนอกมาใครเขามาแจงงแจงระตัวก้าเขาไปเล่นนั่นไก่เลยนะนั่นแจงระตัวก้าเขามาใช้แต่ตุ่มแต่ไทยบางระตัวก้าเขางั้นก็แจงระตะกี้แต่กันนิววงเรียงแต่ที่นี่ก็มามีตุนมาใครก็มานวดแต่หน่อยบางแค่เฮ้ยตะกุ้มแต่โซ่แต่ไม่ลงนี่ก็ขันไอ้ก็ไม่กันนิวเลยก็ไล่แต่คงเทแต่อาทุลาแท้ก็มากันนิววงเรียงใจแต่ก็มาเด้งดีนะมาใครมาใช้ทุกไทยมันเด้งดีแต่ก็ไม่กี่กันนิวก็วงเรียงใจแต่ชื่อน้ำปูเนี่ยก็นิวหวานบางแท้ก็มาก้าเขามาขังรับขันสิตีปงนี่แม่กันดินี่แม่มาขังอุปายขัดเสร็จแม่ไอ้ก็มาลุงมาบ้านตัวไทยก็ไม่รับขันสิตะในปูรับมาแก่นี่ไงก็มาขังนี่งามมาตรงไหนเทก็มาไอ้ทุกขันสิเนี่ยรับขันสิงามบ้านไหนดิเททำไมเราว่าดิเททำไมตัวมาส่วนไอ้นี่งามบ้านตรงให้หลังไอ้นักฆ่าทำสิ่งไทยมาใครอันนั้นบอกว่าอย่างไรทำไทยที่นี่ไทยจะติดในที่นี่ละไทยกันเนี่ยทุกคนหลังจะเสร็จเนี่ยไทยกันใจจานนะก็จำไรบิวไปปัดโดนนะสบายสามรับมาคิดนะสุรินทร์เนี่ยสมไทยสปัดแล้วนะก็ลำไทยสิสุรินทร์จานไทยเราปกติยังก็ยิ่งเศร้ามาไอ้ที่ก็มาลงบนน่ะเศร้าสมัยอาจจะเศร้าเลยกว่าได้ไม่เศร้าไอ้ถ้ากันไทยมึงไอ้แจ้งวันลงก็ไอ้ลาเสร็จจะทำงานมึงแล้วก็กันดีเนี่ยแค่ค่ะกันดีจะเด็ดเศร้าแจ้งวันเป็นลงเขาไอ้ประมาณตอนนี้แท้นะไอ้ต้องแท้ไอ้ลำชาร์จทัดจ้าต้องเข้าไปดูลงกระเป๋าไม่ได้ลงกระเป๋าไม่ได้แจ้งว่ากันพ่อแจ้งว่า哎呀，这不对！大家看没路。龙个棒没？龙个棒没？我看你好。哎呀，这不。
This suffering will end only if there is a political will to find peaceful solutions. Several attempts at brokering peace between the Indian state and the Naga groups finally culminated in a ceasefire with the NSCN-IM in 1997. The ceasefire continues to hold in spite of occasional skirmishes between the Indian Army and the Naga militants.
We signed the Kashmir Accord and we dismissed Farooq Abdullah's government. We signed the Punjab Accord and we dismissed the Akali government. We signed the Assam Accord. We dismissed Prafulla Mohanty's government. We signed the Mizoram Accord and we dismissed Laldenga's government. It's a bad track record. It's a very bad track record. It's all a credibility crisis. I think we should start afresh, build more credibility. And it is not the letter, but it's the spirit that is important.
16 February 2001. Two Bihari rickshaw pullers were killed in a bomb blast in Imphal in an attack where the perpetrators and intended victims remain unknown. The overwhelming presence of the armed forces in the northeast has not brought peace. Militarization has only bred a culture of violence and retaliation. Most of the ethnic groups in the northeast have their own armed groups which are fighting for a range of objectives from political autonomy to independence. Moreover, there are different factions among these armed groups which are fighting each other. The suffering caused by more than 50 years of Indo-Naga conflict has been compounded by tensions with other ethnic groups in the region, that is, the Meiteis and the Kukis. In February 2001, Paul Leo, the president of the United Naga Council, the apex body of Nagas living in Manipur, was abducted by Kuki militants. He was subsequently released, and since then, there has been a continuous dialogue between Nagas and Kukis.
peace Pamadona, I could Nagashi peace Pame. Mamangida 92 Digi Hauna Naga Cookie Kanakivda. Cookie Shu Yam Panashire, Nagasu Yamna Panashire. Abdul Cookie the Nagagi had a young but the Kanana Kanabra. Kanagi Wena Atomba Kanana Kanakiba. Kanagi Wena Oil Kiva like Hivno, Animaki Mangmani. UNC meeting tribe Mayam Laga, meeting Shilaga, Kramba Monga, no cookie Unasra, Adugumna, no cookies, no Maraka program Shilaga.
Though this process of interaction has considerably improved the relationship between Nagas and Cookies, the Naga-Meitei relationship remains strained. The attempt of the central government to extend the ceasefire with the NSCN-IM to all Naga-inhabited areas met with violent resistance from the other communities, especially the Meiteis. In Imphal, angry protesters burnt down the State Assembly building. The central government had to withdraw its decision. Historically, there were no fixed boundaries, only mobile frontiers between the lands occupied by different communities. The formation of the 7 states in the northeast was an arbitrary process without reference to any historical, political or cultural factors. This has led to the current standoff between different ethnic communities. Naga civil society groups are trying to build bridges of understanding with other communities in the northeast and with the Indian people. The Journey of Conscience is one such initiative aimed at strengthening people-to-people dialogue. Indian civil society groups are also working in tandem with Naga groups. The ceasefire is now more than 6 years old. This is a historic opportunity to end hostilities and to open up doors for a just and lasting peace.
Naga में सही है कि इंडिया में सही है कि सही है कि सही हुआ जाया这找一个找个什么的，现在俺们跟那个是个，明天是时代，么他前面天是20-18个么几个人意思。